Test, test, 1, 2, 3. So, what I'm going to be doing tomorrow is simulating a camping trip where I go camping in my camper that's on the back of my truck. Friday night, after work, Saturday night, and as I get ready to leave Sunday, about noonish, my truck won't crank. So the simulation is I'm out in the wilderness, no cell phone coverage, and I have left word with my son where I was going, and if I'm not back or he doesn't hear from me by 9 o'clock Monday morning, then send out search and rescue or come looking for me in the quadrant area that I told him I was going to be at. So that's going to be the scenario tomorrow. So, but I'm not leaving my yard. My truck and my camper's in my yard, and basically all I'm going to do is from about noon. No, probably not noon. So until almost dark, I'm working on my truck, trying to get it cranked, keep hoping for cell phone service, no cell phone service. So, as it approaches dark, before it gets dark, I want to ensure that I'm going to have a warm place to stay until in the morning. It's going to be kind of a minimalist kind of deal, because the simulation is I used all my propane because I just planned for the weekend. I brought just a little bit of food. It's all gone. I've got a pack of emergency beef jerky, and that's it. So I should be able to survive on that for a minute. But yeah, so I think that pretty well covers the scenario, the way it's going to go down. I've got an emergency bag that's got some stuff in it. I am going to go through it tomorrow. I'm going to set it all out on a tarp and go over everything that's in the kit. Because that kit is for a emergency situation, not to exceed 24 hours until the search and rescue gets there. Most of the time it's not going to be that long. But, we're going to see how it goes. I'm going to sleep outside. So like right now it's 11 degrees. I hope tomorrow night it's this cold or colder. I'm going to set me up 3 different thermometers. I'm going to put one outside of the camper. I'm going to put one inside of the camper. And then I'm going to put one inside the sleeping bag. Just for demonstration purposes. My solar battery, I'm going to hook it back up. I brought it in for the winter because I didn't want it to freeze and bust. But I'm going to go out tomorrow and hook it up. I've got 1 or 2 little 12-volt solar lights out there that run off the solar panel. And so anyway, that'd give me a little bit of light tomorrow night, or Sunday night, whichever one. I'm off Monday, so I could actually, pretend this was a real, hey, I was going to leave Sunday afternoon, truck wouldn't crank, now I'm stranded, can't get to work, you know. So that kind of deal. But yeah, the only thing that I'm gonna really need for 24 hours, in an absolute survival situation, is a means to keep warm, water, maybe a piece of beef jerky or so, or two. Yeah, I made some killer beef jerky last weekend. No, anyway, we'll see how it goes. JP getting ready for camping simulation emergency overnight stay out in the camper. Whatever. Over and out. Hey guys. So I'm gonna do a little simulation today. It's gonna be an emergency survival situation. So the scenario is going to be, I got off work Friday, took my truck and camper camping for the weekend, and I had enough supplies to get me through Sunday morning. Propane, enough to get me through, because it's cold, so I would have run the heater all Friday night, Saturday, all day Saturday, and then so I ran out of propane, and then I go to leave Sunday afternoon, and my truck won't crank. So I'm out on some BLM wilderness land by myself, which may or may not be a good idea, but so before I left, I notified family where I was going to be, the exact location, and that's where I'm going to go. Okay, I'm not going to chase a rabbit and go somewhere else. Oh, that looks like a nice place, and go somewhere else, because if something happens, and can't get in touch with your family to tell them that you changed your plans or whatever, then it could be bad if something happens in case of an emergency. So anyway, I get ready to leave Sunday afternoon. Truck won't crank. I've used up all my propane. I don't have any more food. I've got a bag of beef jerky and some water. So family knows that if I'm not back by 9 o'clock Monday morning, to come get me at that in this general area. If they can't find me, then search and rescue, be notified or whatever. But so I wanted to create this simulation just to see, just to check it out. You go through these survival courses, and textbook theory sounds good. Hey, in this scenario, do this. You got to do that. So the Chuck dog barking. So anyway, the main things you need to survive, for 24 hours or so, is you need to stay warm, you need to stay dry, and stay hydrated. So if you can accomplish that for just a small period of time, and it's not about comfort. You're not cooking, 7-course meals on an open pit, fire pit or whatever. This is strictly, a survival situation. So, given that, it's about 26 degrees outside right now. And so I've been outside for a little while now, and my fingers are getting cold. Everything else is good. So I've gone and I've tried to crank the truck to leave the simulated campsite. It won't crank. So I've messed around with it, for an hour or so, and I can't get it cranked. It's about 2 o'clock, so it's going to start getting cold. sun's gonna go down, so now I know, I don't have any cell phone coverage, so I can't call my family and say, hey, my truck won't crank. I'm out in the wilderness. Can you come, give me a jump off or something? There's nobody around. No passersby, no neighbors, blah, blah, blah. This is all simulated now, okay? Because I'm actually in my yard. I'm not going anywhere. So I'm testing out the theory. I want to make sure, my sleeping bag works as advertised. Well, I don't know how it's advertised because bought it at the Goodwill for $2. So I got two of them. They're base camps. And the labels are so worn off, I don't know if they're warm weather, cold weather, extreme cold weather. I don't know. They could be, just because I got them in Wyoming doesn't mean that they're rated for Wyoming weather. Could have been some passerby that was up here camping and go, oh, it's cold up here in the Wyoming. I need to get me a different sleeping bag, and took those to the Goodwill. Anyway, they're base camps, sleeping bags. So I've got two of them. So I'm going to give them a try. I've got both of them in the camper. I've got extra socks, and gloves. I got tons of, gloves and layers, coats, a lot of stuff you would have normally in a camper on a camping trip. Okay. The only bad thing is I'm going to be out in my camper with no heat, at least until tomorrow morning. So, I'm not gonna try to cook a meal, because I used up all my food for breakfast this morning. So I'm not gonna die because I don't eat. So yeah. Anyway, so now, did I know that I'm gonna be staying here in a survival mode, because last night it got down to -3, so I don't know, I figure it'll probably get down in, single digits, if not close to zero tonight. Now it's not going to be that cold outside. I mean, it'll be that cold outside, it's not going to be that cold in the camper. Last night I was testing it out, just, kind of getting an idea, and it was, at one point it was 6 degrees outside and like 20, 22, 23 degrees inside the camper, which is still going to, mess you up, as far as hypothermia and frostbite and stuff. But the main thing is to stay dry, stay warm, and stay hydrated. So, last night, so I was in the sleeping bag testing it out, and I did pretty good. I had 3 thermometers set up. I had one outside, had one inside the camper, and then I had one inside the sleeping bag, up next to my chest. And temperature was good, until I had to get up and go pee. And man, just in that small amount of time, just socks going to the end of the camper, and it was a minute, maybe, if even that long, 2 minutes maybe. But man, my feet got hurting bad, and it took a while for them to get warmed up. So anyway, things that we're going to try to do to not get dead tonight: stay warm, stay dry, which it's not going to be hard to do inside of a camper. But anyway, JP starting the simulation. Keyword simulation. Nobody panic. No animals were hurt in this video. Always wanted to say that. So anyway, simulated emergency survival situation. Sleeping in a camper overnight with no heat in extreme cold weather. Single digits, anyway. JP, over and out. All right. So, um, again, this is a simulated emergency survival situation. I was out camping by myself out in the wilderness. Got ready to leave Sunday. Truck wouldn't crank. No cell phone coverage. Family knows where I'm at. Um, so they know not to come looking for me until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So simulated. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna sleep in the camper tonight with no heat. But the this situation is simulated. So nobody panic. You know, there's okay. So I'm not out in the wilderness by myself, but I'm not going to rely on any outside influences during this demonstration. So, got ready to leave the campsite. Truck wouldn't crank. No cell phone coverage, so I can't get in touch with my family, tell them, I need help. So I know that I'm going to be spending the night in this camper with no heat. So temperature's kind of gone up a little bit. It's about 30 degrees outside right now. It's about 2:30. And so it's about, I think it's about 40 inside the camper. So anyway, climbing gear. So this is the old camper. Yep, that's exactly what you think it is. So yeah, it's 30 degrees. So I got me some water. Got me some shoes for tonight when I get up from night to go pee or something. I slip those on. I'll put those under my sleeping bag and lay on them to keep them warm. So I got boots. Got the blah blah blahs. Got the beanies. Got multiple sets of gloves. 2 pairs of socks. Whatever. Electronics. Got batteries. Got charging cables for all the different devices. Got cameras. Another cell phone. I'm gonna set that cell phone up to take pictures of the thermometers every 30 minutes on a time lapse. So those are the ones that are, the big one is outdoors. The one on the left is inside the camper here, and then the one on the right is the one that the sensor that I put in the sleeping bag with me, just to see. So I've got this reflective windshield thing that I got. So got the GoPro, flashlight. All these are rechargeable. They don't need batteries. Okay, so I'm only going to need light for a little bit, but hey, for whatever. I've got a bunch of them. Got an emergency BV bag. That I kind of want to try out. Look how small that thing is. So you get up inside of it, and it's got that reflective foil, and it's supposed to reflect 90% of your body heat. And then I got 3 emergency blankets, and got a bag full of clamps. Why do you have a bag full of clamps, one might ask? Well, so what I'm going to do, the theory behind this, what I'm going to do is, since I'm going to be sleeping in this camper tonight with no heat, I want to block off. I'm going to close these, right? I'm going to close these two, And I want to seal off as small an area as I can, stand with these blankets and put the foil towards me, right? So I'm going to make like a little tent inside of here, so that when I'm exhaling, my exhaust is warming up the temperature, kind of like it does in a car. When you don't have your defroster on, windows start fogging up. Well, your breathing is actually changing the internal temperature of that vehicle. Same deal here. I don't want to be heating this whole area, right? So I'm going to take those clamps, take those emergency blankets, and create like a little tent area. So I've got two of these base camp sleeping bags that I have no idea what the status is on, because I got them at the Goodwill. The labels are all wore off. I can't tell. I don't know if they're warm weather, cold weather, extreme cold weather. I have no idea. All right. So, I've got blankets, got more water. Let's see what we got in here. So, typical camper, coats, because you're in Wyoming, it's cold out here. So you got multiple things, coveralls, coat, fleece, windbreaker, spandex over shirt, and yes, a bathrobe. So I've got plenty of stuff here that I should be able to make it. But yeah, so my hands are starting to hurt. It's 2:14 in the afternoon, and it's it's 26 degrees outside. So this is the one outside. That one there, the big one. It's 26 degrees outside and 40 degrees in here. So, it's, well, that one says 30. I don't know, I'm getting conflicting stories here. Anyway, so that's going to be what I got. So I'm going to build I'm going to go ahead and start working on the shelter. So these flashlights, check it out. All right, so they're magnetic. I like this one here. So you can put it on flashlight mode. And the data sheet said it'll last for 10 hours. So, that right there is probably all I'm going to use tonight, is that dude. This guy here, if I really get crazy, I might try that out just to see how long it'll last. It says about, I think 3 hours. And then I've got this dude. Everything's charged up. I made sure I had everything charged up, It's a little headlamp. Pretty cool. I love that thing. But I think that's about it. I got plenty of things to cover up my head. So, you lose a lot of heat out of your head, the top of your head, if you're not covered up. So it's important to keep your head covered up to retain the heat, and your hands and feet as well. They say to the most important thing is to maintain your core temperature. Make sure it doesn't get too low. But your hands and your feet is where your blood turns around. They're turning around points in your body, right? So if your hands and feet aren't warm, then you're just continually pumping cold blood back up into your heart. So, if you can keep your hands and your feet warm, then it's going to help out a whole lot. It's all the way around. So anyway, that's the setup. So I'm going to go ahead and start working on the shelter. JP, simulated emergency survival situation. Over and out. All right. So, how's it going out there, folks? So today I am going to simulate a emergency survival situation. The scenario was went camping in my camper over the weekend and got ready to leave Sunday, and my truck wouldn't crank. And folks that I notified, my family notified where I was going to be, told them not to come looking for me, or if they didn't hear from me by 9 o'clock Monday morning, to come look for me in a designated spot where I was going. And they couldn't find me, then search and rescue after that. But I would be out there at least until 9 o'clock in the morning with no heat, because while I was camping, it was cold. I used all my propane. I ate up all my food because I was supposed to be leaving Sunday, So it's I don't know, it's kind of crazy. But I went through a winter survival training class week before last, and they teach you, textbook theory and hey, what if situations, and you need this and have this and all this. Well, so the minimum things that you're going to need to survive for a short period of time, 24-ish hours until a search and rescue gets you or whatever, is you need to stay warm, you need to stay dry, and you need to stay hydrated. So given that, that's what I'm going to attempt to do. So since the scenario plays out that I was supposed to be leaving today and my truck wouldn't crank, so I messed around with it for a few hours, got frustrated with that. It wouldn't crank, blah, blah, blah. I don't have any cell service. And what else was it? Oh, so the sun is going down and it's starting to get cold, right? So given that, I wanted to prepare a place in the camper for me to be able to survive for the next 16 hours or whatever until tomorrow morning. So, am I out in the wilderness right now? No, I'm in my yard. But I want to test everything out, for the what ifs. So there's the truck, went camping, truck wouldn't crank. Now I know that I'm going to be sleeping in the camper with no heat until tomorrow morning. So my feet are cold already. My hands are freezing. And that's intentional. Okay, that's intentional. Because I wanted it to be as real as possible. Because in most situations, you're going to be cold. So, anyway, so what I did, let me turn this camera around here a little bit. Anyway, oh well, can't do it. But so I took the upstairs part of my camper, and closed it in with foil, and that's where I'm going to be sleeping tonight. So 34 in here and 29 outside of. So anyway, I'm going to post a YouTube video of the whole building up process and, you know, getting everything going. But I just wanted to share this with you guys to let you know. I'm moving from Alabama to Wyoming. There's a lot of temperature changes. A lot can go wrong in a quick period of time due to the weather out here. So I'm going to do some more survival things. Yeah. So it's cold in the camper, but keep in mind this is just a scenario. It's a not real world event just to play around with. But anyway, appreciate all you guys watching, and I'll keep you posted. JP in a mock simulated emergency survival situation. Over and out. All right. So, getting the old enclosure built up. I'm going to do a little something right there. I don't like the way that's going, and maybe right over here. But so you can see it's 27 degrees outside, and it is it 3:30 or is it 5:30? One of them says 3:30, or two of them says 3:30, the other one says 5:30. I'm going to go with 3:30, because if it was 5:30 it'd be like a lot closer to dark. So it's 27 outside, and looks like about 49 degrees in here. So I was hoping to open that curtain so that the sun would come through there and hit that reflective liner there, the emergency blanket, and you know, provide a little something. But anyway, I've got some foil tape here that I'm going to use to kind of seal this up a little bit. Let's see how that does. So you're pretty much having to build this thing laying down. You know, so that's added a little bit of difficulty that I wasn't really looking for or expecting. You know. Oh yeah, look at that. Huh? I love this tape. Yeah, so my hands are cold. And my feet are just now starting to get a little chilly. These Vans skate shoes that I scarfed for my son are awesome. Surprisingly warm. I can't believe how warm these things are. All right. Yeah, so I got the, I got these clamps. Got these clamps to. So hey, I'll just clamp the old tarp up. Well, that's fine if you got something to clamp it to. There were some places that I didn't have anywhere to clamp to. All right. So now, we're getting there. So probably in I don't know. I'll give it a little bit more time. Let that sun soak in through here, and kind of warm this up a little bit. And then once the sun goes down, I will close this off and finish closing that off. Try something right there. So the only time that I have to go back in the house right now is to let my dogs out and to pee, because I can't, for obvious reasons, right now, until it gets dark, I can't just open the door and pee out in the yard with, folks. Anyway, I'm in just keep in mind, I'm in a simulated emergency survival situation, and I'm out in the middle of the wilderness, and there are no neighbors, and whatever. But for this demonstration, I'm just sitting in my yard, but not depending on anything, other than for right now to use the restroom and to let my dogs out. So that's the Chuck dog and my son and his wife's Gunner dog. So anyway, we'll check back in a little bit. All right. Well, it is, what time is it? It's 20 till 6 on January the 19th. And I've got the emergency survival shelter, if you will, built, and there's nothing else I need to do outside or whatever, so I am getting ready to just stay in here the rest of the night. Now, the only time I'm going to have to leave is to go let my dogs out, because again, this is a simulated survival situation. So I just got in here. So the temperature is 15 degrees outside, and I've got another thermometer that's located outside of the shelter here, and then this one right here is this sensor. So it's already 4 degrees warmer in here than it is out there. Now, theoretically, my breath when I exhale should theoretically heat this area up some. So my hands and feet are pretty cold from being outside all day, because I wanted to simulate, a real situation. So a real situation, more than likely your hands and feet are going to be cold. All right. So took my shoes off, and see, it's already 34 in here now. So I'm excited about this. This is awesome. So this is the little shelter I've got plenty of socks, plenty of gloves, beanies, baklavas, blah blah blahs, whatever they're called, and oh, and a bag of beef jerky that I made. So pretty excited here to test out the functionality of these emergency blankets. So they were like $5 at sporting goods outlet. So I bought 3 of them. So I've got 3 just to make this shelter here, and we're gonna call it a shelter because that's what it is, even though it's up on the bunk part of my camper. Yeah, so I'm excited to see how low the temperature is going to go tonight. Last night it got down to -3, but I wasn't out here. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. So I'm going to get the camera set up to where it does time lapse of the thermometers, so that we can see what's going on, and I'm gonna add that up in the video clip whenever we get finished with it. Yeah, so sniffles, cold feet, cold hands, that's all part of a real situation. So anyway, now I'm going to see if I can maintain my get my hands and feet warmed up and maintain good body temperature. Anyway, JP having some fun in a simulated emergency survival situation. Over and out. Okay, so it's what time is it? 6:30. And the outside temperature is 15 degrees. The one on the right, 27 degrees, is outside of we'll call it a shelter. And the one on the left is this one right here. It's 37 degrees. So the temperature is going up in here. And my feet are stinking cold. I've got on 2 pair of socks, and I just so you got to do what you got to do. I could get in a sleeping bag, yeah, sure, but I'm testing out different things, right? So one thing I'm going to do to generate a little bit of heat is to get some friction going. Whatever. Anyway, so I've got let's see, I can't come out of here before 9 o'clock in the morning, because that's the time I set for myself. If I'm not where I can contact my family or whatever by 9 o'clock, or if I'm not back then they come looking for me. So it'll be at least 9 o'clock before I get out of here. So anyway, pretty pleased with the way the shelter turned out. Don't judge me. What? Oh, the glasses. Yeah. So anyway, having a good time here. Not much to do other than just sit and watch the thermometers, watch the temperature go up and down, go up in here and down outside of the pod, if you will. So anyway, JP, I'll be checking in later. Over and out. All right, so little update here. It's 7:35. The temperature outside is now 6 degrees. In the pod here, it's 30 degrees, and outside, just outside the pod in the camper itself, it's 22. So it's a pretty good temperature difference. Due to the fact that I put up this emergency blanket system today when I knew that I was going to be staying out here. So I left for just a few minutes to go into the house and let the dogs out and use the bathroom. And when I left, it was in here, which is the thermometer on the left. It was 36 degrees. So in just a few minutes, it dropped 6 degrees. So and I think it was 15 outside. So in just a little bit, it has dropped. The temperature's dropped a crazy amount. But anyway, given that, I am getting into the sleeping bag, and I've layered up while I was out of the pod a minute ago. I got some stuff out of the closet and layered up some more. So I've got on like three layers of polyethylene, I guess it is, and nylon combination, no cotton. So anyway, I'm in the sleeping bag now, and I imagine I will be in here for the remainder of the exercise here. So anyway, JP in the pod, temperatures dropping, and I'm going to try not to get frostbite or hypothermia. So hypothermia is your body's inability to generate heat. So you lose body heat faster than you can create it. And shivering is a means of your body generating heat from friction, muscle friction. So I haven't got that far yet. So and that happens when your body temperature goes below 95 degrees. So normally body's 98.6. You go into hypothermia when your body temperature drops to 95. So we're not going to get there. And frostbite is when your extremities are exposed to cold weather for an extended period of time, and your layers of skin actually get frozen. That's recoverable. You're not going to die from frostbite. You'll die from hypothermia though. So anyway, JP having some fun on a simulated emergency survival mission to last for about 14 more hours, 14 or 15 more hours. We're going to call index tomorrow at 9 o'clock. So it's it's going to be a minute. Anyway, JP in the camper in the emergency survival mission, simulated, of course. Over and out. Whew. That was a chore. All right, so I sealed that up, and as we look at the temperature outside, it has already dropped 2 degrees since I put that foil, or that emergency blanket piece of foil on that vent there. So it's 3 degrees outside, 18 degrees outside the pod here, and 31 degrees in here. So before I put that foil up on the vent there, it was 30 degrees in here. Of course, I know it didn't change that quick, but probably a lot of that was me moving around. But I'm starting to see some condensation on the inside of this on the inside of the pod here a little bit. So anyway, hopefully that 31 degrees will keep going up a little bit, and hopefully it won't go any lower. But anyway, I was thinking it might get down to in the single digits tonight outside, which clearly it has. And so it's 18 degrees on the other side of this pod. We'll call it a pod. This is not to be confused for a podcast. Oh, this is a podcast. Anyway, JP making some improvements to the pod on a simulated, keyword simulated, emergency survival situation in Green River, Wyoming. Over and out. All right. So, James Payne here reporting with your 12:30 news update. So not much temperature change since the last update at 10:30. It's still 1 degrees outside, or 1 degree, just only one. We got 1 degree. Outside, it is, what is that? I can't see. Oh, 9 degrees outside of the pod, and 20 degrees inside the pod. So I had a plan that I wanted to measure the temperature inside here, inside the sleeping bag. And so anyway, the pod that I had, or the sensor that I was going to use for inside the sleeping bag, I've had it outside the sleeping bag all night long. And so anyway, I finally put it inside the sleeping bag here with me, and it is a toasty 72 degrees inside the sleeping bag. So anyway, I messed that up the first few hours of the experiment. So yeah, anyway, it's so we're getting some ice forming up on the ice is forming up on the foil shelter, or emergency blanket dealio. My water is froze because it's 22 degrees or 20 degrees in here. But what I found that doesn't freeze, and you may already know this, is alcohol. So yes, I've been taking a few little dips, but nothing to worry about. So anyway, so it's 12:30. Got about 9 hours left. So I'm going to have to go in the house and let the dogs out in a minute and use the bathroom again. And I dread that. I may not put my shoes on this time. I may just run in the house barefoot or in my socks. But anyway, JP rolling with it. Over and out. All right. So I just ran in the house, let the dogs out, went to the bathroom. So it's still 1 degree, and it's 8 degrees right outside the pod here. And while I was gone, the temperature in the sleeping bag dropped down to 64 degrees. So oh no, my camera quit. Crap, quit logging. I'll change batteries. But anyway, so and I cheated. I'm sorry. When I went in the house, I grabbed me a canister of water that's not frozen. Because that's frozen, and I don't know if you can see the ice on the stinking shelter here inside the pod, but I've got ice crystals forming inside my stinking little pod here. My tape's not sticking. I keep having to stick it up, so I'm losing heat out the top there. Not cool. But I'm not bailing out. I'm gonna hang with it. But anyway, so in the survival class, right, there was some discussion about whether these foil-based emergency shelters act as a Faraday cage, right? So hopefully you can hear that. Yes, I started up some appropriate a playlist of mine off of YouTube. It's Relaxing Winter Wind Sounds by MCZ2. It's about 8 hours, right? So anyway, it's beautiful, and it's most suitable for this situation. So anyway, I've got it playing, right? So it's playing off of my phone in the house, which is about 25-30 feet away, right? And so it's outside of the pod here. So check this out. So I bring the speaker inside of the pod. All right. Speaker's inside of the pod. And it quits, right? So if I bring it right there to the door, right outside of the shelter, all right? So, do these things act like a Faraday cage? Not enough data to say yay or nay at this point. However, I think so. Well, I don't know. who knows? More research on that to follow. More research on that to follow. But yeah, so getting some ice crystals inside this dude. It's now. Oh yeah, okay. So it's now 17 degrees inside of the pod here. 17 degrees. So yeah, and it's a warming 61 degrees inside of the sleeping bag here. And the little experiment about running in the house just sock-footed versus putting the shoes on just to let the dogs out and go to the bathroom, much better. Much better. Yeah, my feet have already recovered. So, yeah, no big deal there. But anyway, JP with a little intermediate status update. I hope you can hear the wind sounds. I hope it comes through good because it's most fitting for this situation. JP, in a simulated emergency survival situation. Over and out. Well, it's 7 o'clock. Got a couple more hours left. The inside of the pod here is it's got ice crystals everywhere. So my camera died that was taking the intervals for the thermometers, but it maintained, looks like a 1 degree temperature outside. Outside temperature, the outside of the pod, but inside of the camper temperature is 1 degree. So those two equaled out, which means if I was not sleeping in the pod, I'd be in 1 degree. But the temperature in the pod here is a warming, sweltering 16 degrees. And inside the sleeping bag, we're at about 82 degrees. Yeah, so I got so hot that I had to take my socks off. I had 2 layers of socks, and that was a challenge, getting socks off in a sleeping bag when they're really tight. I had to take my gloves off because it felt like my fingers were going numb because they were so tight. Kind of like when your hand goes to sleep. Oh, I felt like that. So I ended up taking my gloves off. And anyway, a couple more hours. Oh, so my water froze, right? And anybody that says alcohol doesn't freeze, so I didn't have that much alcohol in there. Obviously, most of it's Gatorade, or not Gatorade, ginger ale. So anyway, yeah, when I took my socks off, man, golly, it felt so good and cool. Anyway, I'm gonna finish going. I'm gonna finish taking me a little nap because I've got to pee really bad. I don't want to get out of here. So maybe if I go back to sleep, I won't notice it so bad. My hair's messed up. So anyway, JP in the heat pod. Over and out. All right. Good morning. So it's about 9:30. I suppose I need to be getting up because I'm sure that my son will be here just any minute. I told him if he didn't hear from me by 9 o'clock to come get me at a designated location. So anyway, I'm sure he's on his way. So it is 1 degree still, so it got down to 1 degree last night in this outfit, or outside. It got down to 1 degree right outside the pod as well. So the temperature outside and the temperature inside the camper got down to 1 degree. inside of the sleeping bag. 76 degrees right now. Of course, I've opened it up a little bit, and so it's 16 degrees inside the pod here. I've got ice all over the inside of this thing. So that yeah, so that's kind of, I guess that's kind of neat. Yeah, so my feet last night got pretty hot, and I had on 2 layers of socks. So I don't know, about, I guess it was about 4 o'clock, 4:30 or something. I took my socks off, and God, it felt good. The sleeping bag was warm, but it felt cool at the same time to my feet, so it felt really good. It was a little difficult getting the socks off because they were so tight. Anyway, and then I took my gloves off because, I started getting warm. So I took my gloves off, put them back on, because this was a hand that was like holding the edge of the sleeping bag, so it was right there at the frost line, if you will. What other kind of crazy stuff happened? Oh, so alcohol does freeze. Of course, it had a ginger ale mixture in it that was, mostly ginger ale, not alcohol, so that's why that froze. I don't think of anything else crazy that might have. I don't know, but anyway, so I'm fixing to get my socks on and get bundled up and go get ready for my rescue team to show up. Wow. So yeah, sleeping in a pod like this for stinking what was it, about 18 hours, something like that. That ain't no joke, man. When it's cold, I mean, you can't just, I don't know, you got to stay bundled up, so you're laying down, keep moving around, trying to get comfortable. I'm laying on 2 foam pads and one of those windshield sunscreens, which I don't know if I like that or not, because it almost feels like I'm laying on a board or something. It's not real soft. But anyway, it ain't about comfort. It's about not getting dead, right? So I wasn't worried about it. But yeah, I hope you can see the frost on the inside of the pod here. Because it's kind of cool. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, I got really cold outside. Got fairly cold inside the pod here. Like I said, it's 16 degrees in here right now, and it's not bad. I mean, I'm not dead. So, yeah, it's cold. If I was to come out of the sleeping bag, which I'm fixing to have to do, or I didn't like the way that sounded. Fixing to have to do. Anyway, I'm getting ready to come out of the pod, out of the sleeping bag. So I'm going to be putting my socks on, gloves, And I guess that's about it. You know, all I need to do while I'm waiting on my rescue team to get here. But anyway, I've got stinking morning hair that I'm not going to show y'all because it is nuts. My hair's like this big in the morning. It's ridiculous. But anyway, JP in the simulated survival situation didn't get dead. I didn't freeze. I didn't get cold. Inside the sleep, I did double the sleeping bags up. I don't know if I told y'all that earlier, but I did double the sleeping bags up. Because, you know, I mean, shit, 16 degrees. That ain't no joke. But the, frost on the inside of this thing is killing me, man. Anyway, JP, over and out. Alright, I'm going to try to get my socks on here now. So there's the sensor that I had inside the sleeping bag to monitor the temperature, which 78 right now, just because I'm opening the, you know, I'm getting out of this thing. But yeah, I did pretty good. Oh, I think it's time to hydrate. You know what I mean? Got my water bottle from the Cherokee Rock Village in Alabama, where we used to go rock climbing. Miss that place. Oh. So I've had to go to the bathroom since about 4:30. Therefore, I did not drink any more water because I was already about to die. And so I was starting to get little dry mouth there from breathing the cold air right at the inlet of the tent. I had to keep opening it up because, you know, if I kept it sealed, then I'd just be breathing bad stuff. This is not the easiest thing in the world to do, I'll say. So it's 1 degree at 10 o'clock in the morning, or 9:30. All right. All right. So I'm going to do what I did yesterday. I've got to go in and let my dogs out. Because I haven't let them out since 4:30 this morning. So they, I'm sure, are ready to go to the bathroom as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm not putting my shoes on, right? Got frost falling. Oh, that's cold. Hey, look, I don't need a darn flashlight anymore. Why? Because it's darn 9:30 in the morning, that's why. Alright, so what I am going to do though is grab my shoes. I'm going to grab my shoes. What else do I need out of here? All right. So he's making a dash to the house. Oh look, got some frost on the inside of there. All right. So it didn't snow last night, so I'm not walking out on snow. So I came up with the conclusion of why run to the house in my socks versus putting my shoes on. So the hey babies, come on, Greta. All right, I'll be back in just a minute. Y'all go pee pee. So the amount of contact, right, that your feet have in the shoes is constant from the time you put them on to the time you take them off. So it's like putting on ice cubes. With the socks, double layer of socks, just running, the amount of time that your feet are on the ground, right, is a lot less than constantly being in the shoes. So I don't know if that's right or not, but that makes sense to me. Anyway, I'm about to die, so I'm going to go to the bathroom. JP checking out for a minute.